Rob and Social, we're back with Devina Kaur, correct?
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Devina, speaker and founder of Sexy Brilliant, correct?
Yes,
Cool, cool. And what is Sexy Brilliant brand?
so Sexy Berlin comes across because of my years of struggling with an addiction and dating addiction at that.
What is it?
With the dating addiction,
Oh, okay.
and when I was very lonely and depressed and almost suicidal, like would be texting people, men, and they'd ask me, "How are you?" I would turn around and say, "Always sexy, always brilliant." And it was an affirmation to kind of bring up my spirits, to be everything that society, parents, culture tells you not to be. That is to be sexy and be brilliant.
So what is a dating addiction? Does that mean like you constantly wanted to go on a date with a different man?
Or just like affection.
Well, so after my arranged marriage ended, I ended up on various dating apps,
I read that.
including, yeah, including Craigslist. And really, at some point in my life, I would get high from having anonymous conversations with men or people I thought who were men. And it was a very dark period in my times in my life because at one point I was suicidal, but on the other hand, I was getting high from these strangers who were just having who I was having conversation with, in
Yeah.
the idea, with the hope of obviously finding love or affection or sex or whatever you call it. It's all a package, and it was through it went on for about 6 months, maybe a year, and through this period, I realized that you know first of all, it was only through therapy and through intense inner work that I realized I'm actually an addict who's getting high from these strangers.
From the interaction. What is that what caused the arranged marriage end? 'Cause I've never heard of an arranged marriage ending. I've always heard that they like I've heard people say they work better than like other, our marriages.
Well, I'm born and raised in India, so this is what we do. Like 50% of the population has an arranged marriage, where it's an arrangement.
Yeah.
And my arranged marriage ended, and then I ended up on Craigslist.
Okay,
and it was
That's what brought it on.
it was just and in fact I'm very embarrassed talking about it because it's not something that you want to share. It's your dirty dark secret.
Yeah. Yeah, no, any marriage though. Like I remember when my marriage, I was like, I didn't want to. Like, I felt like a failure when my marriage ended. Like, yeah, I feel like anybody going through that is gonna have a rough time and go through some stuff.
Yeah, and it's I mean, you feel like a failure, but this is the thing. We look at failure as a bad thing, right? Like, is it better, for example, and I'm this is not true. Is it better that my ex-husband killed me in the marriage, or is it better that I left the marriage? So
Right.
so it's
Yeah.
and my ex-husband is not like that at all. But this is how we have to look at it. It's not a failure. It's just a part of life,
Yeah.
and we judge ourselves so harshly. It's not our people around us. I think we are the ones who are like, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I couldn't make the biggest relationship of my life work, or I lost my job, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I don't have a university degree, I'm a loser. So these are the stories we tell ourselves, and it's time that we let that go because they don't belong to us and they don't make us feel good and healthy about ourselves.
Yeah, and they don't define who we are as people. I feel like we could be something else. We could do something else. But you're sexy brilliant. It just seems great. It seems like you want people to just be comfortable with who they are. Correct? Self-acceptance.
Radical self-acceptance, because it's about inner work, self-love, and think of it like this: we're not taught about self-love. It's like it's something outside of ourselves. It's something vague. But what is the process of self-love? So through all of this struggle and overcoming an addiction What I've realized is that the step to self-love is more love itself. So loving our darkness.
Accepting everything, everything that we are.
Everything that we are, our darkness, our lightness, our, let's say the fat side of myself, or the side that doesn't have money, or the side that constantly gets into disagreements. So loving all parts of ourselves, because no part of you is your own enemy. So it comes from self-knowledge and self-acceptance, and then moving towards befriending yourself and then loving yourself.
I agree with that point too. As being like, as a certain point in age, it's like this is what you get. This is what you get. If you're good with it, you're good with it. If you're not, it's on you. It's on you if you're not good with it. Like you know what you're getting. And I wanted to ask you too. What is some of what I don't know? You do a segment, correct, called Ask Devina, where people send you questions. Yes. What is something like that? Most people like. One of the most asked questions you've had, something that most people struggle with.
So, in fact, one of the questions that I recently answered is on mental health, where somebody asked us the question, I'm struggling with mental health, but how do I tell my parents that I'm struggling with mental health? So that's a very, how do you tell somebody that you're struggling? How do you tell somebody close to you that you need help? Or how do you trust people around you when you're going through emotional downs, and family is so hard to deal with.
It's one of the hardest people to ask help from, the people closest to you. I feel like it's the hardest thing to admit to those people that you have those problems.
Mm-hmm. And I answer business questions, sex questions, love questions, anything and everything is welcome. At Sexy Brilliant, it's about healthy inside out sexuality, emotional health, financial health, spiritual health. So we're holistic approach to life and well-being.
Cool. I was gonna say too, like, I don't know. I don't feel like you're encouraging people. Like some people you look at and they're just ratchet. Like some people, like, don't be a slob. At least take care of yourself. Some people you look at and you're like, no, you're gross. But like, like you should accept who you are. But I don't know. Some people just, I feel like you
have to care a little bit about yourself.
Your hair, it shouldn't be so dry and stringy. Like.
Well, listen, I would say if you shower once a week, you're okay.
Just try.
Okay, okay, teenagers listening in, shower every day.
Some of those teenagers, they're not wearing like deodorant nowadays. I heard like that.
What?
That's like the whole new movement. Like I'm natural, I'm hairy and natural. No, go back to hairless and unnatural. Some of the things. It's great to hear you laugh, Devina. I loved checking out your YouTube and all. Just seeing the work you've done. What was that group you did with the donations to? Was that in South America?
Yeah. So part of what we do at Sexy Brilliant is me. I mean, me, and now of course we have a team here. Is we like to give back. So so often we think that giving back is only money. But giving back is time. Giving back is, blood, sweat, of course, money. So we all can give back in our own way. So Christmas 2000 last year, I'm a full-time single mother, so my kids were gone, and I went to Guatemala for volunteer work, and then I went to Rwanda for volunteer work.
Wow.
And and of course India, because I am from India. My parents live in India. And the one thing that I realized is life is really simple. And, like the people that I worked with, the families that I donated time with, money with, was people had like forget running water. They were actually drinking water from muddy puddles. And you look at this and you're like, wow, like really? And it was so simple. And then, of course, the project that I worked with, one of the projects that I worked with was to establish healthy drinking water, safe, clean drinking water. And then it was about building homes and like really poor people or who just didn't have the means to kind of look at the city life, and we're talking about remote areas. So I've done a bit of work like that, and it comes back, and every time I do something like that, I'm like, wow, I am so super blessed. I am so thankful for what I have.
Yeah.
Example, just being able to call in and share the story, and so it's the little things in life that we should be grateful for.
Yeah,
So,
you never realize how bad some people do have it.
yeah, and like right now, I ask your audience if what are you grateful for? Let's ask this from them and find out, what are you grateful for? What are you guys grateful for? I want to know that.
Everyday life, I do like I do a lot of comedy and stuff, but I just love seeing somebody interacting with their children and have a good time when they're like at the store or something like that. I love just like seeing that moment, just that little moment in a day, and just even with my own children, like I love just laughing or just enjoying the moment. Slim is a single gentleman.
Yeah, but I can say like one of the things I am, and this is super corny, but I'm grateful for the show that we're doing here, that we've been doing for the past like 6 years, like with the relationships we've developed, the relationship we've developed together with each other, and just everything about it. Like I'm definitely grateful for that. And it's weird. Like when I was younger, I always had these thoughts of like what I wanted to be and where I wanted to be when I'm 30. I'm 30 now, and I'm going to admit to you, I'm just in retail, but I'm like a manager in retail, and I do this like radio show, and I'm grateful for all that. Like I'm actually content with where I am.
Yeah, and like I'm grateful for the ability to just call in and share my story and encourage everyone to embrace themselves for who they are.
It's therapeutic in a way too, just to be able to talk, about whatever to whoever you want.
And it's my way of encouraging everybody to embrace their sexiness and their brilliance. You have it.
You have a book coming out, right, Devina?
Yes, my first book in the Sexy Brilliance series is coming out soon, early next year.
That's called Too Fat, Too Loud, and Too Ambitious, correct?
Too fat, too loud, too ambitious.
And is that things that have been told to you? That like things you've heard people say?
Yeah, these are things that my parents they were here from India, and they just left. And a couple of days my mom says to me, she's like, the reason you're single is because you're too ambitious. So I looked at her and I said, but this is, Sexy Brilliant is so big. I mean, I work, but I also want to get laid, right? So my mom's telling me, no, I mean, women who are ambitious don't find men.
Oh,
she's saying like men find you, I guess.
Yeah. But that's it though. Like you gotta respect your parents, but still, at some point, you are an adult. Like you're living your life as an adult. Like.
Yeah, and it's like if I were a man who was working so hard, it would be okay.
Yes, there is also a double standard in the old.
Right? Yeah,
in the old ways.
And it's because you're a woman that you're not the traditional woman, like and I'm like, yeah, I work too much. And then it's a different generation. It's about the female being the feminine, the homemaker, and traditional relationship. And then I'm looking at this, I'm like, none of this has happened for me, right? And of course, this is like, this is the fattest I am in my life, and I'm like, I'm so fat, but I'm so sexy, and I'm so brilliant. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stand in front of the mirror and say that to myself, sexy and brilliant. And this is exactly like the base of the story. It's possibly the world's first ever X-rated self-help book.
That sounds like it would sell amazingly. There's no better selling point than that.
Yeah, so as somebody who has read a lot of self-help books in my past, I definitely think they've been missing a lot of sex.
I was going to say that, or even if I never read a self-help book, I'm like, oh my god, this is the X-rated one. I want this.
I want this. Yeah,
I want that. That's a selling point.
This is more exciting.
Yeah.
I rather read that than some guy telling me how wonderful his life is because he just wanted something and he got it, because that's like how it works.
Yeah,
it's life.
I
just thought it. I just kept saying like, this is what my life should be, and it fucking happened.
That's what I thought that was so great about your story, Devina, that you have actual hardship that you've overcome, like, or are overcoming.
Well, it's also acceptance of the fact that, you know what, I am horny. I want to get laid. I was on Craigslist.
Everybody has needs, though. Yes, people overlook that. People definitely overlook that or want to brush that aside. No, everybody does have needs. Everybody, as a human or whatever, you have sexuality about you. Like.
And that's like an interesting point to bring up about self-help books, is it's hard to connect to authors a lot of times who write self-help books because they're trying to portray to you that they're like this higher being.
Yeah.
Right, like they're like this next level. So you like coming out and just saying, nah, I'm horny, this is like my life. This is, you know,
appeals.
like
that appeals.
That's you can relate to that. You're like, oh, this is a real person. Like, she can actually help me because she understands me. You know what I mean?
She's addressing her addictions. Yes, I think that's an amazing thing to connect with people on.
Except I hope my parents never ever get to look at my book or read it.
Do you just lie to them when they ask you like, what are you doing? You're just like, I just work in retail.
I sweep at the office.
Yeah,
look at that office. I work there.
Yeah, I clean that office over there.
You know what? It's to be honest. Like I said, I'm born and raised in India, so sex is very much a taboo. And here I am, like, you know, doing this sexy, brilliant, and writing possibly the world's first X-rated self-help book, and sometimes I wonder, what the F am I doing?
Yes.
So then it comes, you know, and then I have to remind myself that my purpose is bigger than my fear.
That's a great outlook on it too. Yeah, like, this is gonna help more people than it's gonna embarrass me, but a little bit maybe, but the outcome can help so many more people. So many more people. I saw too, Devina, you left a high-powered career, right? To walk dogs.
I used to. Yes, that's part of my journey. Again, you know, I finished university in Canada, and then I couldn't. I ended up in the banking, investment banking, and then looking back, I was just so miserable. I made a lot of money, but I felt such a loser, and. You know, and again, at that point, too, I was, like, depressed, and I was like, I can't do this. What's the point of living? So one day, I decided, my marriage was ending, and I decided to quit everything and just walk dogs for a living.
Was that almost therapeutic, just in not dealing with the mental stress? You're just doing that. Like, that. I feel like that would be, like, almost a vacation. Compared to the other thing.
It felt, I'm not sure if it felt like that. It was a different kind of, it was not stressful, except like I'm in Canada, so it's always cold. You know, walking dogs in the snow, minus 400 degrees. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't like smoking a cigarette out in the cold right now. Like, yeah. That walk to the car is uncomfortable.
Yeah, different challenges, but what happened is, through connecting with nature, I was able to heal, and I was able to, you know, forgive myself, forgive everything that I had done, and that's the hardest part, right? In self-healing, we forgive everybody else, but what about forgiving ourselves?
I also feel like it might be a nice break from dealing with people. Just deal with some dogs.
Possibly. I mean, I'm a social person, so I love people. I love dogs, and I actually, when I was walking dogs, I missed the human to human connection.
Okay.
So I was, it was like I was not meant to be a long-term dog walker.
Yeah, that was a passing fad.
Yeah. And that's self-awareness, right? Knowing that, this is here's the moment. But also, I left the banking career because I knew that there was a bigger purpose for me. Sexy Brilliant had not happened, but I somehow knew that, I have to do bigger things. I was looking for something. And as it turns out, Sexy Brilliant was looking for me too.
How did that come about? Who did you start it with, or did you just start it like solo?
Oh, it was on my own. It was just to make me feel good. I would stand in front of the mirror and I would say, "You're so sexy. How come you don't get laid?" So my goal is always to get laid, right? So I'm standing in front of the mirror and I'm like, "Oh, you're so sexy. Why don't you get laid?" And it was just like it was a joke that from becoming a joke, it became something real. And then what happened is, I actually found a lot of validation through this dating that I told you about. That I said, like, that addiction. It was like people were giving me validation, constant validation. Right? You're so hot. You're so sexy. And you start. So the more you hear this, the more you start believing it until it becomes your reality. And that's where the shift happened for me.
Nice. And what is besides the book? What is Sexy Brilliant brand? What is it? What do you offer? Do you do like a blog and stuff like that?
So at Sexy Brilliant, we do weekly blogs. We have a big community. We also, very big on social media. We have courses. If anybody's ever interested, there's lots of courses, weekly blogs, lots of YouTube videos. And of course, lots of TV as well. So when you write the world's first ever X-rated self-help book, it becomes, people want to hear the story, and it's a real story. It's about hardships and overcoming the hardships, and most importantly, not giving up.
I wanted to ask you too. You mentioned moving, like being raised in India and going to Canada. Was that a big culture shock?
Yes, very much so. And initially, it was very lonely. I was very homesick. But I'm again, by not giving up, by showing up, by staying on, like, motivated, saying, you know what, I've come to Canada with such difficulty. I'm not going to give up. That was the thing. And of course, finding people to connect with, universities, friends, and then from there, deciding to live here. That's a big thing as well. Changing countries is not easy, but
I can imagine.
one of the reasons to be in Canada is to have a better, like, standard of living, to say, in the sense that even though it's very cold here, it's also a little bit safer for women. Like, there's a lot of inequality in India. There's a lot of rapes, and it's just not safe. So
Wow.
For example, when I was in India, there was constant fear that you're going to go out and you're not going to come back home because you're going to, so there's a lack of education in India, the lack of,
wow.
It's a different mentality.
I never viewed it as that. I never thought of that. Like, I always thought it was almost the same over there. I didn't realize it was.
No. It's
wow.
Really, and it's really, really bad. And it's if you're a minority, we're also in India. There's a lot of political turbulence right now. So, like, these are the reasons you leave one place and move to another country, because you want to do better for yourself, and you don't want to. And now I've been in Canada for 20 years, so now Canada's become home.
That's cool. That's cool. Did you go to Canada after your divorce or before?
Before. I came to Canada as a student, and then had this arranged marriage in India, and then me and my ex-husband lived in Canada.
Okay.
And and of course now as a full-time single parent, it's having to deal with another co-parent is another story. So life is always testing you.
Yeah, that's an adjustment at first. I basically I'd say the past year, and I've been divorced more years than I was married at this point, and just in the past year did I try and become friends with my ex-wife, and I'm proud of it. It was kind of like we kind of both realized our sons were playing us on separate sides. They were telling us what we wanted to hear. They were lying about the other one, and we kind of just both realized it at the same time, and we're like, look, let's just be friends, and let's give them nothing to side over.
Took their power away. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just amazingly worked. And now it's us against them.
But I'm sure it took a lot of maturity on both your parts, and and forgiveness.
Yes. Let's just overlook all that garbage and all that hurt, and let's just work together. It was a hard thing.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah. I feel like that's it. And I feel like a lot of people may not ever even get to that point in a lot of years.
Yes, we want that for you. We want everybody to have the best of the love that they can.
Yeah. Absolutely. What I did love too, Devina, I read your post about life just shitting on you, because that brought me back to I think when I was getting divorced, I lost my job. It was all this shit at once. Lost my job. I was going to I just finally came to the terms that I was going to move back home with my parents, which that's rough. I was going to the post office to change my mailing address. And I'm going through an intersection, and somebody who didn't have the right of way totaled my car. It was just everything at once. I did enjoy reading that about how sometimes life just shits all over you.
And and this is the thing, we're gonna be tested again and again and again. And what I've realized in my experience, our greatest transformation happens through our most difficult times.
Yeah.
So, for example, we spoke about overcoming an addiction. It was either an addiction or death, right? Or suicide, in my case. And then by not giving up, having this anonymous support system, I was able to move on and actually go into therapy. And here I am 5 years later, 4 years later, talking about it on air. And I am actually really grateful that I had that 6 months or 1 year of struggling with an addiction, because I would not be here and I would have not found sexy and brilliant. So and now it's like a global revolution. It's people from all over the world are connecting to it. And it's about, being sexy and being brilliant. We can be sensual and we can be intelligent all in the same sentence.
That's awesome. Devina, thank you so much for talking to us. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Where can everybody find you?
So we are naturally sexybrilliant.com. It's simple.
Yes.
but we're also on social media. And it's #SexyBrilliant to find any of our posts, my posts, and connect to the community. And everybody's welcome. We accept people from all genders, all over the world, with lots of love and with lots of mutual respect and kindness.
Awesome. It's a great message. Thank you so much, Devina.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye, everybody. Love you.
Have a good one. Happy holidays.
Love you too, Devina. Have a good one.